This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Hello and welcome to the Big Fight, and this is really a big fight which is taking place also on all social media platforms. Yes, there is a certain amount, perhaps even a lot of garbage out there on online media, but should there be any regulation of it? Should there be any control of it? And the government, and Mr. Kapil Sibal in particular, got their fingers right into that particular hornet's nest. So we are here to try and see what all of us make of it. We have a great panel, and we have a large audience. And how many of you spend all of your life on online media? All of your life? Yes. Yes. Like what a 24 hours a day. Okay, so now you know what you're dealing with. That's what you're dealing with. That's what they're dealing with. They say they spend all their time on social media, and now well, some of them actually agree with them, and they also spend all their time on social media. Renuka Chowdhary. I'm introducing all of you. I'm starting to introduce you. You're sitting there right on the edge. So, Renuka Chowdhary, great to have you with us. Sudhir Thailang, renowned political cartoonist. Derek O'Brien, leader TMC, quizmaster, lots of avatars. Prahlad Kakkar, wonderful to have you with us. Kamal Farooqi. Great that you could join us. Rajesh Charya, who's the president of the Internet Service Providers Association. Ankit Fadia, who's got a really cool job description of being an ethical hacker. How cool does that sound? Hi, I'm Ankit. I'm an ethical hacker. Okay, fine. We can't get better than that.
Yeah, it's an oxymoron. It cancels itself. How can you be an ethical hacker?
You can. He's an ethical hacker.
Can be. So wow, that's a new.
He calls himself an ethical hacker.
If the government tries to be unethical hacker, you need an ethical hacker also.
The government's an unethical hacker, he's an ethical hacker. I haven't even finished the introductions and the sniping has begun. So, last but not least, Sanjeev Narula, IT lawyer, who tells us that actually there are a lot of controls already which are out there, and some of them I have to confess that I was speaking to you a short while ago, I didn't even know all those controls.
Yeah, they are very much in place, yeah.
Controls are already in place. Okay. Right. Why is the government trying to control the internet?
It's not a matter of control. Nobody is trying to control anything in a democracy. We don't. We only try to set direction for an evolving society while we even protect children. So besides that, it's not and something that can affect a society, that can hurt a sensibility. Because in a country like ours, which is so large, which is so diverse, and we are in a transition period where we are entering a new knowledge domain and a new communication domain. There are a lot of people left out who don't really understand or interpret.
Can I just interrupt you? There are countries which have tried this, and the countries which have tried this are China, Iran, a few others. So you're not concerned about... The
Minister has very clearly said that he wasn't trying to say remove this or remove that, but he was trying to start a debate which I think has found a resonance. We must discuss it in a democracy.
Okay.
The pros and the cons.
You should discuss. Actually,
there are a whole lot of people who are not in this realm of affairs who are affected by what is online. Because some chap in the village will say something and it can spark off a forest fire. So it's only with that concern that we should debate it in a democracy. Okay, let us debate it.
That's fair enough.
It's a new thing.
Whether you do it or not, there I would agree with you. You are entitled to debate anything in a democracy, including this. Sudhir, what's wrong with what is being suggested?
Vikram, what has happened is that I think a couple of pictures propelled Mr. Kapil Sibal to actually come out and say that internet should be censored in not so many words.
No, he didn't say censored.
No, it means one and the same thing. But what I want to say is that I want to quote an Abu Abraham cartoon which appeared during emergency. And the cartoon was his two characters, the long and short one. One has a placard in his hand and it says that we have a great censor of humor. You cannot censor humor. You cannot censor sarcasm. You cannot censor wit. You cannot censor vitriol. You cannot censor satire. Each morning when I sit at my drawing board, I read all those newspapers in the morning. I read about the hospital fire. I read about the Sarpanch slapping a woman. I read lots of things which disturb me. I feel really completely hopeless and helpless and frustrated and angry. But I went out my anger on that little white piece of paper. I draw my cartoon and I went out my anger. But
Okay,
these
so
people do not have a forum. These people do not have a forum. So they went out their anger on Twitter, on Facebook, on the cyber world. Why do you want to block this thing?
Okay, Derek, first of all, I mean, you're here with us to discuss a slightly different subject, but all of our hearts continue to be with the victims of the fire. And the aftermath is, all efforts are being taken, no doubt, to try and get succor to them. But, you've also seen the sort of comments that have been coming on the internet, on Twitter, on Facebook, even about something as sensitive as a fire. Does that not anger you at a time like this?
Not at all. In fact, yesterday was, when you're stuck in Delhi, as I was, because Parliament was on, so I couldn't go back to Cal, a lot of what I got on Twitter was in fact very soothing. 95% people were sharing. There was someone who sent out a tweet
probably reading
to me.
different messages than I was reading. I have
I'm talking
messages.
about the messages which were coming to me. They were, I would say 70-80% of them were very positive. And there were 20-25% who were purging. So if you look at it from a positive point of view, that you're giving people a chance to purge, sure, 10 or 15% of it was trash. But I think at the end of it all, there was a balance. And if someone went overboard, you kind of told them to go overboard. Vikram, my view on this is that all this content is self-generated content. So in that self-generated content, there may be a small percentage who are misusing their freedom. It's the old story which we used in debates in school. I think it will still be very relevant today. Where was this, in a packed cinema hall, this guy got up and shouted, "Fire!" And he said, and there was a stampede after that and many people died. But he said it was my freedom and my liberty to shout out fire. So it's the kind of the same thing, as long as you know where to draw the line. Since you asked me, I don't think if we can use today's debate to try and go beyond Kapil Sibal's statement.
That's exactly what we are doing. We've discussed Kapil Sibal's statement till we are all blue in the face. So actually it is to go a little further, because the issues that are being raised by this will, no doubt, as the internet continues to become more and more of a dominant force in our lives, these issues will continue. So Prahlad Kakkar, you use online media, and you instinctively have been saying that you're against all forms of control and censorship and the rest of it. But is there another side? Supposing somebody is using these methods, these mechanisms to spread hate, to spread vitriol, to say a particular community should be targeted. These are powerful mediums. They can be used to incite a revolution. They could be used to incite a pogrom or a riot. Then what happens?
Has there been any case where the internet has been used to incite people to come out on the street and kill or burn or do something which is unlawful? Firstly. Secondly, I think it's a very important forum for people to vent, and especially young people to vent, because their energies are so huge, their frustrations are so large, and the kind of negativity that media reports today in the TV, if you watch TV, everything is negative. Everything is corrupt, everything is negative, everything is going down the tube, the whole country is actually going down the tube.
So does this not amplify it? I mean, media in general, which includes television. Television, I'd have to say, this is probably the single biggest factor amplifying feelings of negativity, and this further amplifies.
If you go on the net, you'll find that there are messages of hope, there are messages of sarcasm, there are messages of, there are expressions of people, what they normally do when they get up onto a mountain and they scream out to an
So it's a purging mechanism, which is what I think Derek was saying, Sudhir is saying, it's a purging mechanism. Come on, Faruqi. Is it a purging mechanism, or can it be dangerous?
No, we have seen in the past also that it has, sometimes it becomes very dangerous also.
Like what? Can you?
Like the cartoon or the essay, the articles spreading the hate and all those kind of things. As far as the social networking is concerned, it's a reality. We cannot avoid it, and every one of us is using it. But at the same time, I definitely feel, of course, perhaps what Kapil Sibal Saab has done now, after seeing one or two photographs or anything on the network, it's a different thing. Rather, he should have taken up this earlier also, because he's the concerned minister. Why he has come out now?
No, but can I ask you, you seem to be saying that there are certain areas which can be, for example, like, you know, the cartoons or others which were there, which can actually lead to communal trouble.
Yes.
That's where the control should be, but not if somebody's poking fun or making a joke on somebody.
Yeah, definitely. And everybody who is making all these kind of fun, somewhere or the other, if he's making something illegal, if he's being caught, he's doing, whether it is according to that law of that particular country or my country, he should be punished for that.
I want to ask one question. How many cartoons, I mean, last 70 or 80 years, you have political cartoons in this country, in all the newspapers. How many cartoons in the history of Indian journalism have incited riots in this country? Please tell me.
No, in fact, what we have seen about Hussain, or what we have seen about
Hussain is not a cartoonist.
No, his painting
I'm talking about
whatnot, it has created all those kind of problems.
No, but
and the cartoons you have seen in the foreign countries.
Those are political agendas.
No, we are not talking on the Indian context only. We are talking because as far as the social networking is concerned, it has got no boundaries. It is absolutely no
I
boundaries.
think the question which I'm also trying to strive at is where is the boundary? So what he says is that, okay, there may be some exception. Somewhere the line has to be drawn. Is there a line at some point? If, for example, some mischievous person, and I'm putting this to you, Prahlad, or to you, Sudhir, if some mischievous person was to morph a picture which is potentially inflammatory and was to put it out there, should something be done to that person? Should that be an attempt to say, look, what are you doing? This is not correct.
No, what about individual rights? I mean, he should be able to answer us. What happens to an individual against whom you start running a canard on television, on Facebook, and which is absolutely untrue, and it's very hurtful, and it transgresses and violates the citizens' right. What happens to them?
You had celebrities whose pictures are morphed. You have celebrities whose pictures are morphed. They're on the internet. Are they remediless? They aren't. They have taken action. They have remedies available under law.
After the damage is done, how do you compute the damage to an individual reputation or anything?
When you talk about a pre-publication, you have no idea what you're talking about.
Yes. Yeah.
So you cannot treat this medium as different from the other medium.
You cannot preempt.
That's precisely what I'm saying.
So you please injunct everyone not to bring out any picture which is
that's not the issue.
So that's not the issue.
That's not the issue.
The cartoons that Mr. Farooq was talking about was about Prophet Muhammad.
So and
they were done by Swedish cartoonists.
Which can incite any
They
riot
were done by Swedish cartoonists.
The provisions are in
and
place.
Nobody appreciated those.
So I'm just trying to understand legally what is the position. If somebody is putting, we're trying to establish if there are any boundaries, what should those boundaries be? So you're saying that if somebody is putting material on the net which could lead to a riot,
right, which is defamatory, which is obscene, which is morphed, which is
what are the...
So the remedies under the Information Technology Act, the legislation is in place. He can take absolute action for getting the offending material removed from the website, or also have a criminal action initiated against the person who has posted that information on the website. But under the IT Act, it is a cognizable offense where the police can act on it. It's a medium which is, people have to be responsible. Every viewer here, every person here is aware that it's a
any
medium which is
information he knows causes annoyance, inconvenience, danger, intimidation, enmity, hatred, ill will, any of that, and it's 2 years punishable, could actually get you hauled up. So it's already law. It's in the Gazette of India.
This is the first time in India, in IT Act Amendment 2008, and the rulings has come out in the April. Our law has become an example for all over the world. Sure. Every country, developed country, I'm not talking of underdeveloped, I'm talking of developed countries are taking a cue from our IT Act. So what I feel, we should appreciate our IT Act. All the acts are in position and we can take any action.
Just to ask, first of all, I'm just trying to establish, have we already got whatever censorship you're talking about? Is it already in here through the back gate without anybody noticing? Ankit Fadia, are you concerned, this sort of stuff, I'm not sure about the ethical hacking. I'm sure it's in there. Let me. I'll read this offline. Hacking is, I'm almost certain, is illegal in here somewhere.
It's not ethical hacking.
Aha! I found it. Knowingly or intentionally penetrates or accesses authorization or exceeding authorized access by means of. Yeah, well, it's here. Sure. You're in deep trouble.
See, no, I'm an ethical hacker, so that doesn't apply to me.
Where does it say ethical hacker also?
Who legitimize that?
Who says that ethical hacking is allowed?
As long as you're not causing harm to anybody, it's ethical hacking.
I urge you to go off and read section 66 of this.
Correct. My personal opinion on this is that legally there is always a recourse already available. If somebody feels something is hurting the sentiments or it's going to cause some national security issues, there is a legal recourse available.
Is there?
Not only that, we don't actually totally need to rely on the legal recourse. We've got to also understand the internet is an animal of its own. The whole community on the internet is, if they find something that is illegal, that is going to hurt somebody's sentiments, they're going to, they're going to write against it. They're going to criticize it, and everybody's on the internet is going to gang up against that person.
True, absolutely.
But look, ganging up on the internet has happened, and frankly, the internet,
Which way does the gang
internet
go?
increasingly starts at sometimes the internet, resembles high school in its worst. They have these cyber bullies and everyone coming and jumping down.
Even without taking the entire cyber laws route, you can also report something abuse to Facebook, and if enough people report it as abuse, Facebook will actually take it down.
Well, look, one is inflammatory, dangerous content. The second thing which is happening increasingly, we are rapidly developing into a slightly McCarthyistic society, right, where everyone tends to get, everyone's bad and everyone's corrupt and everyone's evil. To take Renuka's point, and I think what Renuka, you were trying to say is that somebody could be out there on online media actually saying this person's a crook and the person's not a crook, or this person's a murderer, the person's not a murderer, or worse, and making insinuations about somebody's personal life as, it's even happened in your cases, it happened in many cases, and there is, your reputation is standard, but you don't quite know what to do about it.
Yeah. And what is the compensation you'll get? How do you put out the good word? How do you correct it?
Okay.
No, but you have rumors in real life as well. And my argument against this is that Wikipedia has lesser number of errors than all the encyclopedias put together in the world. So how come Wikipedia has lesser rumors or lesser errors or mistakes than printed material?
No, but Derek, you must be seeing this. You must be seeing, you're saying that there are 25...
We're not doing a comparative.
No, but
that's not the issue. We're not discussing the merits of Wikipedia against the merits of...
My point is on the internet, if there's something that is wrong, that is a rumor, that is not factual, it corrects itself with time.
But that's on Wiki, but not in other areas.
Even on Twitter, people are going to write
I'm not sure,
it.
is that happened? Derek, you spend a lot of time on Twitter, some of the time what does tend to happen is that there are people who will pop up, and quite often it's one small group who does it. By now you can always name some of the people. So some people will pop up and they'll say, okay, this person's taken money for XYZ, or this person's corrupt, and then that gets tweeted and tweeted and tweeted and becomes a trending subject for a day, and at the end of the day, that might be completely incorrect and there's no recourse that anybody has.
No, I think it's two parts to this. One is this IT, the rules and the laws, etc. All of you guys are on Facebook. If we have a poll here to say how many of you were aware of this and asked you to put up your hands, I think 80% would not be even aware.
Should I do that?
Yeah, do that.
How many of you are aware that it's actually illegal now to be posting a lot of defamatory...
Punishable by all these things. All of you are aware?
You're aware of it? Yeah. You people are aware that there's something dangerous about posting, or something wrong about posting wrong material?
Slanderous material.
It's common knowledge that you don't post defamatory statements or incorrect or untrue statements online, because it can grow, it can mushroom into something very dangerous. But I mean, we learn it basically at school and even in colleges and everything, that it's not right to be posting something untrue. And yes, there are some people.
But are there a lot of people who do it? Anybody wants to answer that? Do you see a lot of you see a lot of slander? You see a lot of defamatory stuff?
Classic example of it was when Mr. Sharad Pawar was slapped. The Kolavari song was made on him. I think that was absolutely, not at all right.
It was made on him?
But should the government ban it?
There was a Kolavari song wherein, the lyrics were devised on Mr. Pawar. I think whatever opinion you have to put it in a dignified way. I think self-censorship is important.
Before I come back to the panel, let me get one more voice from here.
Yeah, but I think that even if it's censored or whatever, but then there is always on Facebook you have report. It says that if you have a problem with anything, you report it. If you report it, if enough people report it, it gets put down. So what's the big deal? We can do. Aren't we that sensible? Does government have to censor everything for us?
No,
Okay,
no.
why should we censor media? I would just like to mention, we had a page.
Vikram, if you apply this standard, I think half my cartoons will be blocked.
I wanted to mention,
because
we had a page.
Somebody or offend somebody.
We had a page, and I hate Ambedkar on Facebook.
Okay.
Right. Now I just was mentioning that to you. So that created a little riot situation in Bandra. So the government acted on it, and that page was brought down. So it's not that the system is not in place.
It violated the policy, Facebook brought it down, or the government issued a notification and it was brought in.
That can happen in some cases which are like that. Now, it's not going to happen if she, for example, posting comments on Facebook.
She's not, the other person is not remediless.
What's the remedy that she has?
She has the remedy to take action against the other person.
She's going to sue her, take her to court?
She can move to the police. The police
Just tell us, what does this thing say now?
That's right, that's what it says.
And this happened after April.
Yeah. It's far more stringent, as I was mentioning.
So what remedy does this give her? And you're saying the new law after April gives her remedies.
Correct.
What's the law?
And I was also mentioning that in cyber world, it's very easy to trace back the footprints. You can't erase the footprints. You have the unique IP addresses which are logged in. So that's easily traceable.
So you're saying, if I understand you correctly, you're saying that after what's happened in April,
correct,
if she is to post that sort of a comment about her, then she can go and file an FIR.
Yeah.
She can file an FIR, and because it's cyber, they'll be able to track it back.
That's right.
And she goes to jail for 2 years.
Absolutely.
That's
you know, Vikram.
You're done. You're done.
Vikram.
Don't post those comments.
Vikram. I think the majority of people, and I know I may get into trouble by saying this, I think the majority of people who use the internet, by and large, when I say majority means maybe more than 90%, use it responsibly.
Correct.
You know?
That's right.
It's
But
a
that's
very...
not all media.
No, 1 second. It's a few rotten eggs. Which are spoiling it, and there are ways and means of doing it. In Twitter, for example, last week after this Kapil Sibal controversy, I sent out a tweet which I thought was quite controversial, but I wanted feedback. I sent out a tweet saying, what happens if someone sent me a picture of the Virgin Mary in the nude on Playboy? Now that was yeah, that was ooh. And but I sent it out because I wanted to get a feedback, and I got some very interesting feedback. Now some of the feedback I got was very nasty, right? Very, very nasty, about 4 or 5 of those guys. And what do you do to that? Do you ignore? Do you block? I have as a rule, I never block anyone on Twitter. I will ignore you, I won't report. But you know, you block someone, you give them more, you know, I think otherwise you'll have the 50, 100 followers. You block them and then you make them into a star. So you can ignore them, you can block them, you can report them for spam. But by and large, 95, 96, I don't have percentages, but most young people today are creating great content. And the guys who are doing this nasty kind of stuff, I got some nasty stuff. Those people have to be hit hard. I don't know the rules.
But how do you hit? No, okay, so I'm not disagreeing with you, but actually if you were to look at the trends that happen, and Prahlad, you might be able to comment on this, he's right. 95% of people are using these mediums responsibly.
Yes.
But the remaining 5% or the remaining 10% are sometimes the noisiest. By now, I can already almost name Twitter handles. I'm sure if I name some of them, you'd be able to recognize them because they're probably out there spamming everybody and filling up everyone's timelines with garbage, right? There are a handful of them, 20, 25, 30 people. But the amount of noise and disruption they create is out of sync with the actual numbers. So what happens here?
So then we should actually take action under the new ruling. And get them
against them?
And get them off, yes.
But the minute you try and take action against them, suddenly they'll say, you know, we're being victimized and we're being silenced and we're being censored.
Everybody on the web knows exactly who they are, and everybody on the web knows that they are highly nuisance value. It's like turning around and saying that certain political parties have gundas to come out onto the street and just create mayhem for the sake of media, what do you call, appearances and exposure. Okay? Now, that doesn't mean everybody agrees with them.
So, silencing the rotten eggs, like what we are now calling the rotten eggs, is that something which is possible, or would that just create an even further furor?
No, is that ethical?
And is that ethical?
So what happens is that the moment you start blocking them, it's so easy for them to create a new Twitter handle.
But they do.
And this time they're going to get even more motivated and louder. So, but legally there is a recourse available. Legally you could actually take action against them. And again, I come back to the whole community. The community is actually quite intelligent, and I think we should give more credit to the community for being able to monitor and, you know, filter out the internet.
So 1 minute.
In a civilized society, we need rules, because 1 or 2%, these kind of people spoil the whole show. So we have to control
the rules.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Facebook already has a terms and conditions document.
We should not leave them.
But we should have. It's already there. So why does the government need to come again?
Brian, that 90% are right, 5% or 10% are the rotten egg. But I don't agree with the Ankit that we leave them apart like this only. The moment we will take a sting action against them, automatically 90% of the law-abiding people will be coming onto the line.
You know, Simon, can I just say something? It's, I mean, what you're saying may sound logical, but if you use Twitter for a while, if you actually were to do that, let's say anybody was to take action, let's say, Derek was to tomorrow file, or Prahlad was to, or I was to actually say, okay, now I'm going to file an FIR against this person who's calling me a crook, and actually I'm not a crook, and he's calling me a crook, and I'm going to file a case against him. In 99% of what would probably tend to happen, in my view, is that the rest of the internet would all come together in that person's defense.
Yeah, Vikram, what has happened?
Then it's wrong.
Someone on Twitter, no name.
Let me ask them.
Someone on Twitter has been sued for a couple of 100 crores or 200 crores for making comments on Twitter.
Yeah, but there were two well-known people in that particular case. It's not like, some random person
I think the point is, it's much easier for a corporation or someone in government or a well-known person to take action. For the
it'll be seen as bullying of a small innocent person.
One second. My 16-year-old daughter, I think that's where a lot of the action has to be. We have to do a lot of educating in schools. We have to make people aware in schools. We have to make, there are cyber cops in America who don't do any cops, like they go to schools, they make people aware. It's a lot of parenting involved, it's a lot of schools involved, and that's how we can make people aware for more responsible use of this wonderful medium.
But there will always be crackpots. So what he's talking about is that what do you do with the crackpots who actually outside of the purview and the pale of the law, and they're against all human decency?
I think that's a good point.
What Sanjeev is saying is that you can take action against them, file an FIR against them,
no,
right?
but it's only reactive.
I'm asking whether that is really a realistic solution for most people.
Let's turn this. I don't think anything can be done. Talk about WikiLeaks. All the governments across the world, all the banks came together, tried to stop their funding, tried to take away the hosting servers, but WikiLeaks, there were hundreds of mirror websites that came up. So the moment you try to censor content, that content is going to become more popular. More and more people are going to want to see that content.
I think he's taking it in the wrong way. We are not talking about censor at all. We are talking about an action
the Sonia Gandhi cartoon. The Sonia Gandhi cartoon, many of us in this room may not have seen it before Mr. Kapil Sibal came out and made the statement that, we should censor it. But now everybody in this room went to Google and saw
That's true. It's very counterproductive. It's like banning a book. The minute you try it, everyone wants to read it.
This guy's a rock star. Every time he speaks, they clap. Fantastic, man.
I speak their language.
Derek, get used to it. You're a politician. You're a politician.
My views
You're a politician. He's an ethical hacker. What do you think they're going to clap for?
I am expressing my views today not as a politician. I'm expressing my views as someone who quizzes, who's in touch with young people. At the same time...
And is on Twitter. He's still an ethical hacker. He's still getting the clap.
I think...
Sorry.
Vikram, can we find a solution? One sec, Vikram. Can we find a solution to this? I'll tell you where. I think where there's a certain... no one was talking about political censorship. That's bizarre. If anyone has gone and put his foot into his mouth, that's his problem.
I don't think anyone has said it to be
I think where we need...
another thing, whatever Kapil Sibal says,
can we... I think, may I suggest, I would be really happy and learn myself. Is there a simple solution we can come up with today? Is what happens when you leave the politicians out, when you have religious symbols being messed around with, desecrated is the word. I think so many young people here, what should happen to that?
Right. So let's take a break and come back to that. So we have identified, I think, 2 or 3 situations where I think most people are almost in agreement, and that something needs to be done, but no one's quite sure what.
The most draconian situation we haven't even discussed.
Which is?
That is
switching off the internet completely.
No, yes. If the government actually sits on censorship, and once they do that, you can
How amazing. These are all hypothetical fantasies.
No, but
you think the government has no other work? Hello, excuse me, please.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be actually quite appalled if the government's actually going to sit and go through all of their Facebook pages and think, what did she say about that person?
But we are reacting to a statement, so let's look at assuming that they want to get in from the back door.
No, excuse me. We have a collective responsibility as a government to ensure that the nation remains safe. And hence we will explore and examine every arena where we can
national security. I was waiting for national security to come up.
Including censorship.
See, you have film censorship. You have people protesting about ads with underwear on it. So what are you talking about?
Are you saying that when the China tries to censor it is physically impossible for him to do it?
Okay,
he just can't do it.
So let's take a break and let's find...
He never said he wants to do it.
Okay, so let's take a break and find an answer to...
mileage on
I'm trying to take a break. I'll never succeed. Can I censor the guests on Big Fight? Silence them, someone. No, I can't. Okay. I am going to take a break. I'll just speak louder than them. That's one of the ways to deal with it. You know, you just tweet more than anybody else is, so shut them all up. Okay, we're going to take a break, and then some of the specific situations we've looked at, you know, national security, inflammatory material, systematic slander of reputation. Is there something which can be done, or should you just forget about it? That's when we come back after this break. Welcome back to the Big Fight, and I'm sitting and seeing all the comments which are pouring in on Twitter about this particular discussion even as we speak. And you know, it illustrates what we were saying earlier. 95% of people who are commenting are sane, and they're the 5% of crackpots. And we were, I think, just before we took the break, trying to decide what should be done to the crackpots. And some people are saying file an FIR against them. Let me turn to the audience and get your views. Supposing somebody was to actually go out there and file FIRs against that 5% of loony people who are slandering reputations or doing crazy things, would the online community, by and large, back the action against those?
Yes.
Absolutely.
They would?
Yes.
Why do you think so?
My conscience says that it's not acceptable, and while I say that, I also suggest that it's quite strange for my government to think on my Facebook status while it can't control my economic downturn, oil prices. So that's the easiest thing to do.
You don't agree with it, because the basic point is a lot of us will actually think that if someone actually goes ahead and complains against the 5% loonies, he'll actually feature amongst the 5% itself, because then someone will think that you take up any random thing that comes up
so
against you.
So you think just ignore them? If there's a loony, ignore the loony?
Because there are other things to do and better things to do. So
okay, ignore the loony, there are better things to do.
Have
you decided whether you're filing an FIR against her yet?
No, I just wanted to pose a question actually, that if I am being violated, not as a celebrity or as a politician, like a common person, I am being violated and I want to complain, raise an FIR, that's going to take a long time. So can you tell me what would be the process, because the more the time goes, the more danger or more harm is being done, which is
okay, I think that's an absolutely valid point. So,
just that you're an ordinary person. All of us are human beings.
That's right.
No, but you have whether you're a celebrity or a politician, it hurts.
Law treats you equally.
Yeah,
so
but okay, so the point which she's making is that you're saying that fine, now there are these very strong remedies in place, and somebody who's, you know, slandering her would get 2 years in jail. Fine.
So better still you don't get a reply.
All the social media websites have their terms and conditions, their policies in place. The hate, the incorrect, the obscene, every information which violates the terms would be brought down. That's the standard terms and conditions.
And now it's individual. There used to be a time when it was the website which would get punished. Now under the new law, apparently it's the person who's posted the offensive stuff. The
website is always into the track. When any obscene or any unlawful material is available on the website, the moment you will report, within 36 hours, he has to bring down the content on there.
But they're not criminally liable anymore. Now it's the person who
posts. They're criminally liable.
No, they are not.
I don't think
not now. After IT Act now, it is no longer, they are no longer liable for it.
The website
is just a platform.
The website is not criminally liable. The person who posts offensive material.
The intermediaries are not liable, as long as they do not participate or not abetting the crime.
Now can I bring us back to the question of national security that Renuka raised? And you know, this now becomes slightly more dangerous territory, and also it becomes slightly more problematic territory. We've for years, I think, been having this argument about Google, for example, showing Arunachal Pradesh as part of China, and you know, it's something which we've had big fights about and got really agitated about. There could be other such things. People could be running campaigns on Facebook saying, I hate India.
That's right.
Is national security a reason, or for that matter, Twitter or Facebook could be used by terrorists to organize a terror strike? Now what happens? Should you try and control that? Or can you not
just
control
say
it?
what exactly is the preamble behind what we are saying collectively? Every social evolution has newer technologies which society keeps pace with, and we legislate and you formulate to help that generation move forward and to conserve and preserve the territorial rights of the nation as well as the citizen. We respect why do we have the right to privacy and the right to this and the right to... We fight for our own space. This is this generation's. That we have this era of communication which was laid down. You know, this whole concept was understood by late Rajiv Gandhi at that time. He envisioned this is what's going to happen for the young people.
No, but so national security...
So national security in today's time is no longer about Jawans being parked on Leh-Ladakh borders.
It's defending India's maps on cyberspace.
It's a lot of other things. It's a lot of intelligence inputs that come in.
Is it?
It's communication with terrorist camps. It's how they feed the sleeper cells.
Okay, Renuka, we've got you, but what can you do about all of this on the internet?
We have a provision in place where the government can act on it.
So what is some of these are actually, I'm seeing 10 years in jail.
What I was trying to say is that we are not saying that we are...
I think a lot of the trolls on Twitter really need to read this. It's quite serious. It's 10 years jail for some of these things.
What Mr. Kapil Sibal is talking about, he's talking about a screening before posting, which is not acceptable to anyone here.
No, he didn't say we should do it.
Screening after.
He didn't say
what he says, he's called all these social media websites the top
and he asked them
and he
that
said
is
that
there
now
a solution?
Frame some guidelines in terms of there should be some concept of a pre-screening before information is uploaded.
No, I think
that's not possible.
One second.
Technically, it is not possible.
I'm not here and
you can't possibly control.
Hello. It's only examining it.
No, one second. I'm not.
What his attempt was to examine to see if there is
somewhere we are getting lost in between.
Yeah.
Kapil Sibal said, you made a mistake and now he's trying to back off.
Who was backing off?
With allies like him, who needs enemies?
Let me tell you, Vikram, this is NDTV. I saw this on NDTV yesterday, where Kapil Sibal, earlier he had mentioned this thing about pre-screening.
Correct.
Yesterday on NDTV in an interview to Barkai, he clarified this and said, I wasn't talking about pre-screening. So if you want to give him the benefit of the doubt, you can shut that now, because
what is said on NDTV in general tends
it's
to
like
be
you bring out a...
thing.
No, 1 second. I think a lot of the stuff has to be, you have to be familiar with the medium, sorry to say, to know what you can do with the medium. Not as familiar as this hero, but you know, like for example on Twitter, 1 second, you use Twitter, I use Twitter. On Twitter, how many people have you blocked?
None.
You blocked none, I blocked none. As I said, you have to
despite severe temptation to block some, I might add.
You mentioned
severe temptation.
Chief, you mentioned national security. I think the other thing for me, which when I sent out this tweet about the religious figure on Playboy, some guy replied saying, this is modern art. Now, I didn't want to show it to my mother, who's 74, because she would have been upset. But I said, let me respond to this. So I said, okay, you think it's modern art. For me, it's the basis of my religion. And I left it at that.
No, Derek, but let me tell you one thing.
It's not blasphemy. This is where, we need to...
Let's not digress into an overall issue of freedom of speech, which we should discuss. Actually, the point about national security,
that's fine.
That's different from your drawing cartoons. If there is, for example, consistently an image is being portrayed, let's say of India, which is not correct, or it's being used for terrorism, at that time, should there be some sort of censorship?
See, for that kind of thing, there are laws already. They exist there. And the government has all the authority to stop them. But what I'm saying is that sensibilities differ in different countries.
One. Yeah. Are you therefore saying that it is correct for the government to crack down on, whether it is Facebook or Google or Twitter or whatever it is it correct for the government to crack down on a website and say, you've got something there which is against national interest? Are you saying they are conditions?
I'm saying
that
just national interest.
I'm saying that if there are messages on the internet about some terrorists are talking to each other and planning an attack on Delhi or say in Bombay or whatever, the government is all...
So if they're doing it on Facebook, then Facebook should be told to shut it down.
No, of course, if something like this comes, everybody can do it.
Everybody has access to it. So what's secure about it? I mean, everybody reading this thing and saying, have you guys lost the plot?
I mean, I don't want to get into technicalities, but theoretically, you have to be a friend of those terrorists to be actually watching their Facebook page.
But what? It's all encoded, is it?
They have to add you as a friend, Prahlad, and it's not necessary that Lashkar-e-Toiba is going to be adding you as a friend. I mean, they might, but it's unlikely.
What Derek was saying about that, I want to say something, that in England, the cartoon is there, draw the Queen and Margaret Thatcher in the nude several times in their cartoons.
No, Sudhir, 1 second. This American-England comparison I do not buy.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, because they're different sensibilities. The things that they get away with, which we don't, the things we get away with.
Yeah, we had such problems kicking them out and you still want to remember.
No, they wear American flag chutneys.
Gulam ban ke baitha.
Yeah, so they are
Thank
different.
the Lord you can't.
They have sensibilities.
Yeah, thank you.
Just asking,
this is my sensibility about the flag. I have no intention of converting it to
national
underwear.
security, in your view, something which is then acceptable for the government to crack down on the website on?
National security is the prime, and no government should compromise on the national security at all. Because
so you'd be fine if the government comes and says,
definitely,
Google, please change India's maps.
Definitely, for the national security, if anything has to be done, we have to do. Any young over here, they will not be able to compromise with the national security at all. Forget about the national security, national abuse.
Vikram, I just want to make a point. There is a difference between the censorship and applicability of the law. We are not talking about the censorship. We are talking about the applicability, use of the law in a proper manner.
Okay, I'm going to take a break. When we come back, let's get some final thoughts from all of you. Welcome back to the Big Fight. So we are trying to figure out whether there should be any censorship or control of social media and the internet. And I think it has been pointed out that there are actually laws, especially after April, which does achieve a lot of that. I'm going to get some final, very quick thoughts from all of you. In Twitter type bursts, 140 characters in your speech.
Sorry?
Say something in 140 characters.
I think the minister should go through the law and then make a suggestion of controlling or censoring the media. The law is very much in place and it has sufficient safeguard built in. None further is required. If it is required, those amendments can be made. But censorship is not the answer.
Ankit.
I've actually sent my final thoughts to Mr. Sibal and he's analyzing it whether it's appropriate and he might get back to you with my final thoughts in 3 days.
Censored or uncensored?
You're censoring your comments out here itself.
What I'm saying is not going to be censored because the social networking site is the biggest tool for the success of internet. The social networking site has brought the distance relative very closer.
So the real reason for the success of the internet was sites like NDTV.com, but okay.
Okay, no. But still, the social working site is very much successful.
But do you guys filter comments on the news stories?
No.
So that's the official stance of the company.
There you are.
Okay. I think what my friend said in the beginning, it would have been better for Mr. Sibal to understand the law properly and then make any... He himself has not understood the law properly.
Okay, Prahlad.
You're absolutely right. Mr. Sibal has...
why we're trying to discuss slightly broad. I thought we decided this is not going to be about Mr. Sibal.
No, it is.
So I'm talking about the broader issues.
Because, what Mr. Sibal represents is a government which we all these young people call it the empire. And when the empire strikes back, you have to be extremely careful as to what they mean and what they say. Because what they say is not what they mean. And there's always an agenda.
That's spoken like a good advertisement man.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Because they always sell that hope in it.
Prahlad says always double meaning.
Yeah, always.
So he's just now
Derek, final thoughts from you.
Two quick final thoughts. One, in all this, we need to respect Indian sensitivity. Yes. And two, if I were to quote Voltaire, I sometimes hate what you write, but I will give to my death the right you have to write it.
Okay, Sudhir. I was waiting for somebody sometime today to quote Voltaire. I was waiting for it. It happened just at the end.
Because Voltaire is relevant in this debate.
True. Okay, Sudhir.
I would like to tell you a story in very brief. You know, there was a man who would come out of office in the evening and disappear in a hillock for a couple of hours. So every day people thought that where this man goes, whether he's looking for a treasure there, up there or what. So one day people followed him and they found that he was sitting under a tree and out of his jhola he takes out his boss's picture and he takes out his chappal and beats that picture for 1 hour. Then he comes back. So this is what Twitter is, this is what Facebook is. You stop these people from beating this photograph of politicians or powers that be with the chappal and the cartoonists.
Or journalists.
Or journalists. They'll actually beat you with the chappal.
Renuka, you have the final comment, but I'm going to struggle to see how you're going to top that.
I think, first of all, you have to understand that this was not about censor or what the words that you've used are completely wrong. It is about moderating a society to benefit the maximum number of people. That is all that it is.
Moderating a society and censoring, what's the difference?
When they genocide in half the country.
I'm sorry.
Okay, this is now fine.
This is not just, no one's trying to quieten the young people. We have young children too, and they're all on the Facebook. That's not the issue.
So you're not going to block Facebook and stuff on it, right?
No one's going to block it.
You're not going to filter anything either.
No, but I will also tell you that besides being a self-regulating authority that the young people are today, they're very accountable and responsible. We are not addressing them. We're addressing a handful of troublemakers who can and will, perhaps. And we are collectively examining how do we address those issues, whether it's minister or government or anyone else.
Fair enough. Thank you all so much for joining us. And of course, keep on sending in your comments on our social page or my Twitter handle, which is running out there. We'll keep the discussion running on social media after the big fight is over. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.